Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 124 of the ET Wealth Wisdom podcast. I'm Tanya Jalil. A couple of weeks ago, we did a podcast on how to take care of the financial interests of your minor child. In this week's podcast, we speak to Raj Mohan Krishnan of Entrust Family Office to understand the importance of legacy planning. Let's listen in. With the current COVID situation, it becomes all the more important to have your legacy plans in place. What is your opinion on this?
So, Tanya, happy to be part of this podcast. See, the idea is the pandemic has definitely caused a lot of mental stress, and it's unbelievable, and a complete change in behavioral pattern in legacy planning. In fact, when you know saying that what is going to happen, you don't know what is going to happen in the next minute. Your entire perspective of life changes, and this turmoil has led to a very pronounced need for some of the ultra HNI and HNI families to secure their wealth and basically to be prepared for some kind of financial preparedness, meaning in terms of certain level of financial preparedness. And in order to protect some of the family-owned businesses and their wealth from the vagaries of this pandemic, many HNIs and ultra HNIs are definitely in a position now, are opting for very carefully drafted wills that can facilitate a very smooth transfer of a person's wealth and assets. Um, and Basically, as after his or her death. Uh, Even trusts, for example, the private family trusts are emerging as a very favored option because all said and done, will is a document which takes shape only after the person passes away. In order to avoid some legal squabbles over the property, money after the death of the family or family member or a business head, uh, unlike a will, a private family trust can also be utilized to provide for specific needs of the family. Like, for example, just take an example, proceeds from a private family trust can be directed towards health, specifically in terms of children's education, even travel expenses. These are things which can be very, very clearly specified and mentioned in a private family trust. And by its very nature, a trust is more accommodating and offers far greater flexibility. And it can hold, it can safeguard, it can multiply and manage assets very effectively, and manage assets as per the will and needs of the settler of the trust also and beneficiaries. So typically these are and since there's so many advantages and by far very very superior than will, there is a kind of a huge what do you say in terms of understanding and also requirement for the family to move towards the private family trust. And one more thing is the pandemic has definitely highlighted the importance of succession planning and as a risk management strategy and business continuity measure. Uh, very carefully drafted and efficiently implemented succession plan has great potential to deal with contingencies and, and even can handle a very volatile trade environment and ensure that business continuity is not compromised. So I really feel saying that this situation, the current COVID situation, has brought about a kind of a mindset change amongst people and amongst business owners for looking at succession planning as a very, very major tool as a way forward.
Now, you were talking about the private family trust, right? Now, there's this notion that the trust is something that HNIs or even more wealthier people go for. But for a regular average person, can the trust be used?
No, it depends. I'll say this way. Trust can be used for anybody who's got uh, above above 5 to 6 crores kind of an assets. In fact, we ourselves have set up a trust for a family for a differently abled child for assets for about between 5 to 10 crores. So, I would say ballpark number for a trust can be about between 5 and 10 crores. Less than 5 crores, obviously, uh, it has to be a will. It can't be a trust because the cost of maintaining a trust is there, and it is not very cheap, I would say, but at the same time, it's not very expensive also. But for a family which has got less than 5 crores, I think will is a better option.
Now, why is it critical to review and even update your legacy plans regularly?
See, in terms of if you look at the global pandemic has completely disproportionately affected the older generations, and particularly in terms of a growing wealth, making them reassess their succession planning attitudes. The younger generation can actually lead their wealth to newer heights, and they can look the kind of perspective from what they look at it will be completely different. And all these guys are very extremely tech savvy, and they come with a lot of kind of a different thought process than the older generation. And number two is the ultra HNIs are expected to grow more than about 75% over the next 5 years. And with the history of large business houses operating in India, especially post liberalization, and emergence of new class of entrepreneurial HNIs. If you look at the kind of startups, the kind of new businesses which are emerging, and the kind of younger generation who are making reasonably big monies, there is an increased need of succession planning more now than ever before. And in the Indian corporate history, if anything is to go by, large business groups have either seen their businesses split through various kind of a very murky battles of succession issues, or through muted and amicable solution plan through a structured approach. These are things which we have seen happening. Troubled succession plans, even when resolved, can lead to a victory, I feel, with a bone of contention, meaning people are not satisfied because, like, typically what happens is people accept over a day or a cup of coffee and saying that yes, it's fine. But there's a lot of internal bickering which happens. It doesn't lead to a kind of a very happy scenario. Therefore, I think it's extremely important that the aspect of succession planning is not acted on through some rite of passage, but actively thought through and reviewed periodically. And it'll avoid the conflicts, it'll avoid bad blood in the future. And particularly, multiple set of dynamic factors are at play, which include complex intergenerational relationships, very entangled ownership structures, diverse businesses, retaining control of the business, then of course managing dispute. In the most of the families, if you look at, there is overseas residency, citizenship issues, taxation. These are some of the very complex issues which is prevalent. So, to sum up, devising a very efficient succession structure which addresses all these aspects without compromising on business continuity, and it plays a very, very vital role.
Now, if you're about to retire, right, how should you manage your legacy?
See, retirement depends on where you retire from. That's the most important thing. And you must live a life of purpose and come up with a plan to protect your legacy. The baton which you carried all this while has to be passed on to the next generation. And I would say there are kind of a three keys or takeaways, whatever you're saying, to leaving a very lasting legacy. Passing on values. That's, according to me, it's the most important thing. In addition to leaving a kind of an investment portfolio or a house or some kind of a piece of land, we want the people to think about the values you're instilling in your family. And some, points towards it as a family traditions. Okay, typically, what are the kind of traditions which the family has across generations? Interview family members, get digital recordings of these families so that it can be stored for the future generations. The next, I would say, in terms of work ethic, Have you set an example of hard work for your friends and family to imitate? Or it's just kind of a passing by? Um, have you sat down with your children or your close friends and had real conversations about what it looks like uh, to live a life well spent? I feel these are far more important things when you're talking about a kind of a retired person or any kind of a business owner who wants to retire and pass the baton to the next generation. Then quality time. The best gift you can give to your family is the gift of your presence and the lasting memories you will create together. Going holidays together, spending a lot of quality time with your family is a very very important what do you say factor, and you can do this here and now, and particularly in today's pandemic, saying that what is going to happen tomorrow nobody knows. For example, in fact, May 4th, I had a very long chat with a friend of mine uh, about the death of a very close kind of a friend. And today, early morning, when I wake up, and it's a real life incident I'm talking on and narrating something which happened today morning. And I get a message from one of my friends saying that this gentleman whom I was talking to him on May 4th is no more. So it's very uncertain. Never before in our lives we have seen a future which is completely bleak, and you don't even know what is going to happen the next moment. So you can't leave uh, um, just like that without creating quality time with your families. So work hard to prepare for the future, but never forget that life is very, very precious. And of course, money management is something which is very important. Teaching your children and grandchildren how to manage their money is a lasting gift that will set them up for a lifetime success.
Um, you were talking about how everything has become so uncertain, right? Now, in this second wave, especially, we've come across stories about how a lot of children have become orphaned because both their parents have died due to COVID. So now, to secure one's child's financial future, at least during uncertain times, how can the trust be used?
See, a trust, if you create in the interest of a minor, can take care of the management and the protection of the family assets for the child. And that too until a child reaches a particular age. The instrument of a trust by itself, a trust deed, okay, which you lay out all the what do you say, the do's and don'ts, and how the trust has to be managed, everything can be laid out with specific guidelines to address the needs of the minor child. It can include distribution of income or assets to meet the educational, medical, or any other kind of an expenses the child may come across. And it also provides brilliant protection, meaning there's always a worry among parents that the assets they leave behind for the children may not be completely protected, either in a way of business laws or any other unforeseen scenario or mismanagement or something like that. Sadly, this can happen when assets are distributed to beneficiaries through a will. But a trust, however, allows parents to safeguard inheritance very perfectly, meaning from usurpers, by keeping ownership of the assets within a trust, thereby protecting the interest of the beneficiaries. And particularly today, in today's day and time, people don't want to completely depend on their relatives and what do you say, friends and stuff like that. People like what do you say? There are trustee companies which runs corporate trusteeship services. Uh, these have got minimum legal complications. Uh, in fact, a trust is the best way to ensure that children are not embroiled in legal tangles, and the involvement of a court is just bare minimum. And the trust deed has to be well laid out, and it ensures that assets are used for the purposes which is deemed necessary as per the preset guidelines in the trust deed. And it it doesn't involve any intervention at all from any party. Okay, and particularly if the trust deed is not, what do you say, does not have any family trustees or protectors, I think the best thing is to appoint a corporate trustee, a company which is registered in the Companies Act, and that will act and assume as the role of a trustee to the trust in order to ensure that the trust distributions are made properly from time to time, and also the trust is operated in a very, very impartial manner. I think very clearly this is very important in today's context, where you see very real stories about the entire families getting wiped out because of COVID, and children losing both their parents within a matter of days, weeks. Uh, in fact, you would have heard saying that last couple of weeks there is a hashtag which is running COVID orphans, has been trending on social media with desperate calls for adoption. In fact, I got at least about 4 or 5 WhatsApp messages where people come up and saying that kids are up for adoption. I think it's not a joke to go and adopt basis some kind of a WhatsApp message. There are adoption laws in the country. It has to be done very carefully, and the duty of the parents, duty of the elders, very clearly is there to create a vehicle, to create a family trust to protect the in terms of the future of children.
Mr. Rajmohan, now before we end, is there something else that you want to say about legacy planning?
See, I really feel saying that typically legacy planning happens at very, very different stages. Uh, Before the pandemic, legacy planning used to happen as a matter of succession plan, as a matter of hygiene, where a karta of the family or the head of the family decides saying that yes, I want to see my succession while I'm active, alive, and also very effective in terms of what I can do for the family. And people used to draft wills. Wills is particularly when they draft a will, it is for more immovable properties, because we don't advise immovable properties to be part of a trust, because it involves stamp duties and other things. It's unnecessary expenses. So all the financial assets used to be parked in a trust, and where the trust will distribute the assets after the even while the head of the family, the karta, is alive, or after his lifetime. So this is a very simple succession planning tool. But there are other aspects of succession planning, is because incapacitation. What happens if the head of the family tomorrow, one fine day, gets incapacitated? Even he is not able to access his own bank account. So very clearly, a trust is a vehicle which can take care, because under the guidance of a corporate trustee, the trust can very well act in the interim to take care of the family's interest, to take care of his medical expenses, everything. So it's a beautiful tool for when something like incapacitation happens. Number 3 is something where clearly the trust happens when you want to protect, when you want to create a war chest, when you take up huge responsibilities, when you want to CEOs of companies, when they take responsibilities of becoming a CEO of a global corporation or a multinational corporation, in order to avoid any litigation, which is totally unnecessary. They create trusts to create a kind of a firewall of their assets for the family members. So that is one very important tool which was used as a succession plan, as a legacy plan. Number 4 is when tomorrow you get into a kind of an insolvency situation. You create some kind of a succession plan so that the family, the immediate family, does not suffer, and you created some kind of a plan for them to take care of their future interests. So there are multiple reasons one used to have to create a very strong succession and legacy plan. Pandemic has thrown open a totally new, different perspective succession plan. There is no procrastination which is possible. There is no tomorrow which is possible. You will have to ensure saying that you do it today. And I very, very strongly advocate everyone saying that, people think saying that, hey, it will not happen to me. It happens. We are keep hearing saying that something is happening to somebody. Why not that somebody be us tomorrow? So that is what I through this podcast I clearly communicate to people, saying that it's very important to think of succession planning, to think of legacy planning, and don't procrastinate. Don't think saying that it's not going to happen to me. In today's very very dynamic situation, it can happen to anybody. Anything can happen to anybody, and request everybody to think of a very strong, very basic and sound succession plan at the earliest.
On that note, that'll be all for this week. Come back next week for more wealth wisdom.